So this Sunday, as we often call it, Good Shepherd Sunday, and one of our most ancient depictions of Jesus in the catacombs of Rome is of a shepherd carrying a sheep on his shoulders. And it's one of our favorite and most sort of enduring images of Jesus. We've got one stained glass window right there that you can look at it if you want to. And this morning, though, we have a confusing extra image added in. The gate of the sheep. Jesus is the good shepherd, and he's the gate of the sheep, and wait a minute, what's going on here? It's a little more complicated. When Jesus uses this image and no one understands what he's saying, we understand what that means. What are you talking about, Jerry, about Jesus? Jesus is a gate? Is he a barrier? Is he keeping some people out and some people in? What's going on about that? I think some of our other readings also reflect on the nature of community, not just the nature of our personal relationship with Jesus, but how are we gathered as a community. And from the book of Acts, we have the kind of whole summary of how the church developed right after the Feast of Pentecost, the Holy Day of Pentecost. Not only was that a great thing, and we're going to celebrate that in another month, but how did it end up? And people were amazed, not just at what happened on that day, but on the community that was gathered and how they shared things in common. We have that first line that we repeat in our baptismal covenant, the teaching of the apostles and the breaking of bread, sort of talking about how we're learning together as a community, how we're sharing meals together, which is really the communion, and then all of the other sharing, the giving and the taking, and the word used is koinonia, which you may have heard before. We often translate that just as community, but it means in common. In fact, the original meaning of koinonia was just something that was common, something that you could just find anywhere. And it was almost often used in contrast to things that are holy and set aside, in a kind of religious irony. The word that means common and everyday and nothing special becomes what we are, which is a holy group of people who share things in common. And what we share in common is the love of God and the grace of God through Jesus Christ. And so when you think of it more than just a kind of a vague idea of community, but holding things in common, begin to understand what that summary is all about. It's not just about sharing money, though it's that. They spent time together. They encouraged and helped each other. They shared a common message based on the grace of God, but not just an idea, but since they received the love of God, they shared it with everyone around them. So I say all this because we want to add something to the idea of Jesus as the Good Shepherd. I don't have to tell you about that. Psalm 23 captures it perfectly, right? We all remember it so well from the King James Version, we have trouble saying the version in the prayer book. I shall not want. What's this being and want stuff? We have this idea of Jesus, the shepherd, taking us to green pastures and still waters, guiding us through the valley of the shadow of death, and finally welcoming us home to some feast of great abundance. It's all true. It's the thing we hope for, the thing we hold on to. But it can also leave us passive. We think that faith is patiently waiting for these good things to come to us. And so, Jesus, as the image of the gate. And this suggests some kind of enclosure. And maybe Jesus is referring to an ancient practice of having a kind of village enclosure for the sheep. And every night the shepherds would bring their sheep in from pasture and guide them all into this common enclosure. And then in the morning, each shepherd would call out their sheep by name and gather them and bring them wherever they're bringing them for the day. It's a great image of faith, following your shepherd who knows your name and you know him. And there's this space that's set aside, a place of safety, and when there's danger without. And Jesus is the gate. He's the way in and the way out. If anyone tries another way or went out, then they shouldn't be trusted. And as an aside, Jesus was probably speaking about religious leaders of his day who were putting their own agenda ahead of God's. Maybe we need to heed a similar warning. Who are we tempted to listen to instead of God? Or what do we listen to instead of God? Do we listen to our social media death spiral screen thing that goes on and keeps us awake at night? Do we listen to well-coiffed politicians? Do we worry about profit and making money? Do you think you're following me? Please don't. Jesus is asking us to listen to him, where he leads us. And I think when we think of Jesus as the gate, it's a way in and a way out. The idea of being a follower of Jesus is not just about staying here, but about following Jesus everywhere, here and then outside of here. It also sort of makes me think about our own sort of, I don't know what you call it, our motto, our slogan. In this church, there will be no outcasts. And we're trying to live that way, aren't we? And I think that this suggests the way that we welcome and protect people is rooted in our relationship with Jesus, and that we have to trust that he will help us with this. This idea of the gate means we trust him as the way in and out. He knows us and calls us, and he knows who belongs with us. So we can let go of the responsibility of being gatekeepers ourselves. We can trust that whoever is called by Jesus belongs in this community. Whoever hears us and encounters us and wants to join us is a child of God or a sheep that belongs to the flock. This image of the gate also suggests movement. There is a coming in and going out. Our life with Jesus in community is not static. We don't find life only locked in this safe place. We find life in abundance as we go out and explore wherever our shepherd leads us. Of course, we return for safety, for encouragement, for rest, but our true life is found as we wander and follow in the wide world. And as we do that, remember, we also do this as community, as a flock. Too often we think of our community as only here for an hour of the week, and then the rest of the week we're on our own. No, Jesus calls the flock together, both here and outside of the enclosure. And we're called to continue to be the church, even when we're not in this building. So the purpose of this church, of course, is not to preserve and protect something precious that can only be found here. We're gathered to give us strength to do the work of living. And this requires deep trust in our shepherd. It also requires deep trust in one another. The summary at the end, at the reading from the book of Acts, shows a community that shares its blessing. It also shares its faith. This is our best proclamation of the good news. We proclaim, of course, the resurrection of Jesus, but people will know we speak the truth by how we live together, with generosity, with joy, with faith, with trust. Jesus does call us each by name, but he calls us together. And as we show people how we love one another, we show the truth of the gospel. Amen.